Hello there to all the amazing people watching this video and my channel. In this video I will present you some big differences between the Lord of the Rings novels written by J.R.R. Tolkien and the film series directed by Peter Jackson. Now personally I'm a big fan of both of them, so it was really interesting for me to see how big those differences are when you compare the novels to the film series. So without any further delay, are you ready? Let's get started. Number 1. Missing chapters. A total of 4 chapters and parts of the 5th are completely missing from the screenplay. These chapters are A Shortcut to Mushrooms, A Conspiracy Unmasked, The Old Forest, In the House of Tom Bombadil, and Fog on the Barrow Downs. These chapters relate the adventures of the hobbits on the journey through the woods and the fields of the East Farthing to their eventual return to the main road near the village of Bree. They include the dinner at the house of Farmer Maggot, the revealing of the conspiracy of the hobbits to prevent Frodo from living on his own, their adventures in the Old Forest, including their encounter with Old Man Willow, their brief stay at Tom Bombadil and Goldberry, and their capture by the Barrow Wight, and subsequent rescue by Tom. Although these chapters are some of the most fanciful, their inclusion in the screenplay was not necessary to the story and would have been extending the length of an already very long movie. Number 2. Narsil. In the movie, at Bree, Strider, aka Aragorn, is shown drawing a sword that is in one piece. In the book, however, he bore the shards of Narsil that have been broken when Sauron had been defeated at the end of the Second Age. In the movie, the sword Narsil, which is first shown at Rivendell instead of Bree, was in 6 pieces. In the book instead, the sword has been broken into 2 pieces, which Aragorn always carried with him. Number 3. Frodo reaches Rivendell. In the movie, it was Arwen and not Glorfindel who came to rescue Strider and the hobbits from the Nazgul. Arwen also raises the Brunnen and gets the Nazgul in the film, while in the book, it was Elrond using the power of the elf ring Vilya, and Gandalf used his magic to cause the river to take the form of white horses. Likewise, Frodo rides across the river alone. He is not carried by anyone, and he defies the Nazgul to the end, calling on both Elbereth and Luthien. Number 4. The Entmoot. In the book, the felling of the trees by the orcs of Saruman had angered the Eds, and the coming of the hobbits Merry and Pippin had boiled them over. It was the news that they had brought to Treebird that caused him to realize that the forest was in danger of destruction and that the Ents must take the part in their war. The Entmoot was called, and in it, Treebird slowly laid out the situation to the other Eds. It was not that they had to be talked into war so much as they needed to rationally deliberate the provocations so as to justify doing so. The outcome of the Entmoot was that they decided to go to war against Saruman, and they began their march to Isengard. In the movie, the story is much different and inconsistent. The Ents were strangely unaware that Saruman's orcs had been harvesting the forest. After the Entmoot, Treebird took his journey to the western border of his land to send the hobbits on their way home. Despite the pleas of the hobbits, the Ents remained steadfast in their conviction that they were not taking part in this war. During this journey, an idea came to Pippin, and he asked Treebird to turn to the south. As a result, Treebird discovered for the first time that the southern part of the forest had been destroyed by the order of Saruman. Number 5. Gandalf. In the book, Gandalf is described to be a self-possessed and calculating wizard with full trust in the Valar's workings. However, in the movies, he is seen to be more anxious, which humanizes him as a character. Throughout the movie, he progresses and becomes more like his description as given into the book, which fits the humanization of him as humans ideally learn from their errors. These changes from panic-stricken to confident occur right after he is sent back by Eru Ilúvatar to accomplish his purpose right after defeating the Balrog, which fits the idea of total rebirth. But in the film, Gandalf is still shown to be weaker than in the book. One example is his defeat at the hands of the Witch King, only to be saved by the arrival of the Rohirrim. This occurs in the extended version only. While in the books, he is shown to ride to the Great Gate of Minas Tirith to confront the Witch King himself. This in fact lowers Gandalf's strength as he is a Maya, albeit with reduced power, while the Witch King is essentially just a human ring bearer. It is a strange inconsistency given Gandalf's triumph over the Balrog, not to mention the various spells he has used throughout the films, some of which may have been useful in such a scenario. Number 6. Danathor. Instead of Tolkien's wise and mighty Lord of Men with great powers of mind and wisdom, who had simply been overwhelmed by despair, Danathor in the movies is turned into an imbecile and madman, most likely to make the changes to the primary characters look better in comparison to him. In him, nobility is reduced to premature, and no mention is made of his frequent mental wrestling with Sauron using the Palantir. It might be argued that this was done so that there would be no doubt about Aragorn's takeover, but the degree and tone of these changes is extreme. In the books, Danathor has spent his entire life preparing for Sauron's assault, and indeed, when the Dark Lord forces an attack at Osgiliath the year before the War of the Ring, Sauron tested the strength and preparedness of Danathor and found them more than what he had hoped for. Therefore, when Gandalf rides to Gondor, the warning beacons are already lit to summon aid from Theoden, and on arrival in the city, the evacuation of women and children is being complete. Number 7. Caradhras. In the film, Saruman causes the blizzard at Caradhras using a spell. In the book, however, the mountain Caradhras is a living thing with a mind of its own, and itself causes the blizzard because it hates trespassers, though Sauron is admitted to be possibly a factor in the book. Aragorn wished to go over Caradhras, where Gandalf argues to go through Moria. In the movie, however, on the other hand, they did not argue much over the way of the transport. Instead, they just ask poor Frodo his decision. Gimli is not afraid of Moria as portrayed in the book, but does not push to go there as seen in the movie. Number 8. Faramir. The personality of Faramir and the Rangers of Ithilien was substantially altered in the screenplay. In the book, Faramir is quite unlike his brother, and even before he understood what Isildur's Bane was from his dream, he swore an oath to Frodo to never take it up or even desire it to save Gondor. Faramir is in fact so wise that he realized that the ring only came to his grasp as a test of his quality by some higher power, and he answers that not only would he never take the ring from Frodo, but that he would not have taken it even if he had found it himself. In the movie, meanwhile, Faramir is so opposite of his book character that he actually sees himself proving his quality by taking the ring rather than refusing it in the movie. When he became aware of the enemy's ring in Frodo's possession, he decided to take him and Sam to the White City instead of allowing them to pass on their way unhindered. However, unlike his brother, he does not claim the ring for himself. He initially intends to take the ring as a gift for his father. He also does not react with anger when Frodo refuses to give him the ring. Moreover, in the book, he and his men were wise, trustworthy, and kind. When they captured Gollum, they treated him with gentleness and kindness. In the movie, Faramir's men beat Gollum, which was altogether contrary to the nature of men of Gondor. Number 9. Rohan and Helm's Deep. In the books, Éomer is not banished, but instead only imprisoned by Grima Wormtongue and freed after Wormtongue is overthrown. As a result, he is present at Helm's Deep battles alongside Aragorn and the others. It is Erkenbrad, a Rohirrim commander, who shows up alongside Gandalf to lift the siege. The fortress of Hornburg is not entirely breached in the book as happens in the movie. Instead, as dawn breaks, Saruman's army uses the fire of Orthanc to breach the gate, but is then driven back by Theoden's charge. Gamling is altered completely. In the books, he's an elderly man conscripted into battle who fights alongside Gimli and Éomer, whilst Aragorn and Theoden ride out into their foes. In the film, he is altered into the only slightly elderly captain of Theoden's guard, who seems to be mentored and friendly with Hama. The largest and most significant of these changes is the presence of an elvish army at the Battle of Helm's Deep. No such forms came to Helm's Deep in Tolkien's story in the books. Number 10. Tolkien regarded Samwise Gamgee to be the chief hero of the story. The movies, however, have Sam actually abandoning his master at the moment of highest danger, a moment where in the books came a very tender and poetic scene of the story in which Smeagol was very nearly reformed. In the movie version, Sam is seen walking down the stairs, crying, and he accidentally slips and falls to the cliff, where he finds the remains of the lembas that Gollum threw away. Frodo and Sam entered the Tunnel of Shelob together in the books, and they fought the terror of Cirith Ungol together, until of course Gollum attacked Sam from behind, and so Frodo was overcome by Shelob. Number 11. Saruman. A confrontation with Saruman in the movie, Grima Wormtongue kills Saruman, who falls and is impaled on the spiked wheel of one of his machines. Wormtongue is then killed by an arrow shot by Legolas. In the book, however, Saruman survives to nearly the end of the story. He eventually takes up residence in Frodo's own home at Bag End, which had until then been occupied by Lobelia Sackville Baggins. But after his ruffians are overcome by the hobbits, Saruman is turned out. Upon leaving, he kicked Grima, and in hatred, he slew Saruman on the threshold of Bag End. Grima was then slain by the hobbits. And that's all, everyone. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and click on the bell to get notifications. And if you're a fan of the Lord of the Rings, then make sure to go down in the comments and write Gollum. Till the next one, have an amazing time, and I'll see you all later. For those of you that stayed till this part of the video, here is a bonus fact. Boromir. Boromir won respect even from his enemies in the Two Towers. Ugluk brags that it had been the Uruk-hai who slew the mighty warrior, clear reference to Boromir. Another fact about Boromir is about his horn. Boromir blew it before leaving Rivendell with the Fellowship, as he always did when setting out on a journey. He sounded again in Moria, causing the orcs and the Balrog even to pause in their advance. The third time he blew it was on the banks of the Parth Galen, calling for help in defending Meriadoc, Brandybuck, and Peregrine Took. This last call, in addition to being heard by Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, was faintly heard by his brother Faramir and his father Danathor as well.